Okay. I think we should continue now because I don't have much time today, guys. There's load shedding at 4.
And say, like, I've been trying to reach out Mr. Spooner, like he didn't assist me with the problem I had since Friday. So I even
Is it?
submitted and I tried and text him, but he couldn't respond.
Okay. I'll go and talk to him after the class. Oh, yeah. Or in the morning tomorrow, because I'm not so sure if he's still around. Ne? Tumsani, I'll talk to him.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, so as I was saying that we have an hour and 20 minutes for us to do this today, but it's just today, and then tomorrow everything else continues as normal. Data that I need. Okay, so on this note, I say that today this is what I want to introduce. I want to introduce HTML. So this is where we're starting. So now, starting here, HTML. So this is the first language that we'll be dealing with. And then from there, Isn't I told you that we're also going to cover, and guys, please, don't forget your cameras and things like that, because they still need to see who's there and who's not. So please, can you please have our cameras on as per request? Because if your camera is not on, then you cannot exactly blame in want about that. So, okay, going back. So now I was saying that we want us to introduce to HTML, which is the first language that we'll be doing amongst the other languages that we'll be doing there. So HTML is the first one. Then from HTML, CSS, then from CSS, JavaScript, of which JavaScript is basically a full-blown programming language. Because right now, even if you go on and check on what do they call that? Right now, JavaScript will come up at the very, very, very top. And then there's JavaScript, and then there's SQL. Those are the ones that will come up at the top there. Just 1 second. Okay, now, if you check here, I'm trying to see. Okay, I think this is what analytics oversight there, or Forbes. If you go there and check on Forbes there, like right now, I want to show you something, just one thing, very, very small. Okay, check this out. I'm in a site here, it's called Analytics Oversight. Also Forbes has got the very same thing. But now, if you check here, you see these here are the top 10 programming languages in the world right now. The first language that comes up is JavaScript. The second language that comes up is Python. And what we use these languages for, if you see JavaScript here, it is most popular for web and cloud. So web and cloud, which means most programmers around the world that make websites or web apps and cloud apps, they're all based. They use JavaScript the most, which is the mostly used programming language in terms of web development. When Python comes second, also Python is also basically used for similar, but mostly it is used for data science, which is basically data mining, things like that, machine learning, and all that stuff. So of which we mostly use it for this. for data science a lot. And though it is also used for things such as used mostly for, but as I said, that these are the major commonly used programming languages that we have so far in the world. So now, and then amongst others, there's like SQL, there's Java, and all those other languages that are there. But in terms of relevance right now in the world, these are the two mostly commonly used languages, of which that's why I'm saying that we'll be focusing mostly on these two, even though if you see, will be most of our work is actually based on JavaScript. But even though you're going to still learn a little bit of Python, like Python, for now, I think Python is one of the most easy languages in the world that you can ever learn. Far much easier than than Java, but very useful. So now, going back to the status quo. So now, what is HTML? That is why I had this HTML thing open up there. Now, what is HTML? Now, let's start there with HTML. Like if you see this, there's something here that's written HTML5. So now I'm pretty sure you'll be wondering, like, what exactly does it mean when you're saying HTML5? Why not just HTML and things like that? So now, according to you guys, when you did HTML last year, what exactly did you do in HTML? If I may ask a bunch of questions like that, what exactly did you do last year? Which version of HTML? I'll ask questions from different. What did you do last year? Or you just did HTML? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I was asking, what version of HTML did you guys do? Anyone wants to answer me? Lerato?
I don't know like the version, but like what we did a website where you can, I think people could register the information. Yeah.
How was your website? That's my question.
It was simple. It was it had an administration, and then a person could log in and they could sign out, and that was it.
Is it? Okay. Was it writing to a database or it was just something like that?
No, it was. It had a database.
Okay. So you guys did something then. And then this year, we need name. You need to know that version of HTML because like these things, admin log on a web page. Okay. I hear you, Busi. Which means this year I need to see like some proper stuff then because you guys already know what you're doing. It is interesting. So I'm excited, very excited. Thank you, Busi. Thank you, Lerato. Now, as I was saying that we need to know these versions of HTML before we go forward. So that's why I'm here. Now, on this note now, I hope you guys can see my screen, which is HTML. There's like a slide button PDF. So now HTML5. Okay, let's start here. Now, the history of HTML. So we need to know specific things about HTML there. And then we're going to look at what is HTML5 and then the MIME types, detention, video, audio, Canva, web storage, geolocation, forms, elements, etc. So we're going to look at that. So now starting with the history of HTML. So basically HTML was firstly established in 1991. Because remember, if you guys still remember, when we spoke about the website, www, we first spoke about the website around the late 80s to 90s. So in 1991, that was when they first established the very first version of HTML. So this was the very first, like the most basic version of HTML, which is what literally these kids are learning in schools, which is basically that version of HTML there. Which was called HTML1, like not HTML1, that was basically the first version of HTML. And then the second version was HTML 2.0, that was released around 1995. And then, okay, before that, like HTML basically is short for what you call hypertext markup languages. For those that are new, hypertext markup language, which is basically a language that we use for writing websites. So this here is the language that is used for writing websites. So the basic structure of a website is written in HTML. So for instance, text. So if you want to add text and you want to add pictures, but the website is not going to be interactive, you can add text, you can add pictures, you can even add videos. But the website is not going to be very interactive. It's going to be a very, very, very boring website, if I can put it like that. It's going to be a very, very boring website. So that is when it comes to HTML, that is a very, very, very first thing that we look at there. So now, on that note now, and then 2.0 was released, and then after 2.0, and then there was something called 3.2, which is a very weird name because from 2 and then we moved to 3.2. So it is basically 3, but a later version of that, which was like somewhere in 1995. But then it started getting more interesting when we got to 1999 here. After 1999, after HTML 4.0, from there, and then they moved to XHTML 2.0, stricter standards. They're rejecting web pages that do not comply. It felt out of favor and gradually abandoned completely like that. So now, see, these versions here were a little bit more strict in terms of compliance and stuff. But now, after this, now it went all the way to HTML5. So now HTML, because if you check here, HTML4 was standard for the longest time until we got to HTML5. Even though HTML 1.0 and 2.0 were being used, but a lot of people still favored this one, HTML 4.0. This was the version that was mostly used for the longest period of time. HTML5 is and HTML5 will still accept all that stuff. HTML5 will still accept all this. So all the text or the what you call the previous versions, your markup from previous versions will be accepted by HTML5. See, it was officially published in 2012, though it was developed since 2004. See that it was officially published around 2005 there, 2012. That's when it was firstly used like in to its fullest extent. So now it is the newer version of HTML, that is HTML5 there, and partially supported by makers of web browsers, but now not partially anymore, but now it is like widely accepted, but almost all web browsers, they accept that. Incorporates features from all the earlier versions of HTML, including the stricter XHTML there. It also accepts that. See what I was talking about, that it still accepts all that's there. So now, as I said, that like now all these this is the mostly common used standard in terms of our web development there. You see, like there is a lot of features that have been introduced to HTML5. HTML5 has got semantics tags, new form tags there. They've got new APIs compared to the previous versions there. Native support of SVG inline. Like we'll talk about what all these things are, like as we go. And then they say that every time your web browser requests a page, a web server sends headers before it sends the actual page markup. And then the headers are important because they tell your web browser how to interpret the markup as follows, like here, multi-purpose internet extension. So anyway, okay, this is what they're simply talking about here. That like, okay, if you type there on a web page for you to request for a page, the first thing that loads on any page are what we call the headers, because that is what the web server sends. It sends the headers first before it sends the content. That's what they're simply saying there. At every time a web browser requests a page, the web server will send the headers before it sends the actual page markup. Hence, it is very important. It is saying that how to tell, because they tell your browser how to interpret. You see, that is where the headers come in there. They tell your browser how to interpret the markup, the markup that follows. So like we're going to be like, as we're going through HTML, we're going to be looking at those aspects there. Like what is the header? What is the body? Like what's supposed to be there? What is the footer and what's supposed to be there? And then we're going to structure all that stuff, like according to how these things are supposed to be structured there. So okay, I'm simply going to jump from here because here it talks a lot of some jargon there. So HTML5 documentation. This is where I will come in. Can you guys see this part there? This is HTML5 documentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
HTML5 documentation. So there's certain things that we need here. So under HTML5 documentation, the HTML5 doc type, in HTML5, there's only, you see that declaration that is very, this declaration that you have. So I'm pretty sure when you guys did HTML, the very first thing that you guys used to write was this part here. You've got an opening tag here, and then exclamation, doc type, HTML, and then you close your tag there. So what does this syntax mean? For those that used it before, what does that syntax mean? What do you think it means? Guys, what do you think it means? That syntax there. Swung it.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Hi, Spongile.
How are you? Sir, can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you.
Oh, so to be quite honest, I have no idea.
Is it?
Yes, I have no idea.
Okay, I know. Understandable.
Okay.
Okay. Matome? Matome.
Sir, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can pick someone else. Speci?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
It defines the document type, sir.
It defines the document type. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean it defines the document type?
since HTML5 is the current standard, we just have to specify it doc type HTML.
Okay. Like as Fiso is saying, yes, Fiso is saying it shows the version of HTML being used. That's what you're literally saying. There. Specific. Yeah. So as Fiso is saying, and specifically are saying, yes, specifically. Okay, as Fiso and specifically are saying, that whole phrase, the very first part here, this part here, the open tag, exclamation doc type, and then HTML, and then close tag there. This here, this declaration here, stipulates the version of HTML that you're actually using. Like for instance, the version that we are using is 5. So this here is very specific to HTML5. The first HTML, the first HTML, the very first one, it didn't have doc type. It was simple open, HTML, close, simple like that. But now this one here, that doc type here, and then tells us that we're dealing with HTML5. So it tells the browser that the version of HTML written to write this page is HTML5. So it also prepares your browser to know that, oh, okay, which means I am dealing with HTML5, and this is how I'm going to deal with HTML5. Because browsers, they deal with these HTML versions very, very differently. So hence now the document type is very, very, like this declaration here is very important. You see that in HTML5, there is only one doc type declaration, which is that one there. And then from there now, this is where we go. Now, minimum HTML5 document. Below is a simple HTML5 document with the minimum required text. The first tag is HTML, which is that declaration there. The second tag is HTML. Notice here, HTML here. And then, guys, one of the most important things that you need to understand is when it comes to your documents, when it comes to a text, each and every text that you open, like for instance, we said HTML here, the very first tag. When you open this tag, it needs to be closed. You see that? So once you open it like here, I'll use different colors for me to do this. See that? And you close it. Once you open, it has to be closed. And how do you close it? You write the same way HTML was opened like that. And then when you close, you put a slash before the HTML. Same applies with head. Notice head here. I'm going to highlight it, and let me use a different color for this. I'll use no, this one. And then once you open that head, and notice here, that head has to be closed there. You see that? So now what comes next here is the head tag. The head tag here, this is where you put the headings of the different websites that you are simply dealing with there. So now the headings, notice inside here you've got that, and you've got the title of the website, of which I'm going to explain this. And then from there, and then you've got the body, and the body, since you open the body, it also has to be closed. But notice now in the body, this is where you actually put the content of the website. All the content of the website has to come here under the body. So you notice, so this here technically is your website. This is the structure of the website. This is the minimum structure of the website. So whenever you start a website, this here is standard. This is how you start. Always start like that. You can even copy and paste this thing and then fill in the information inside. Are we together? I'm pretty sure this is, excuse me, this is not something that is new. You guys have seen this before. Am I right or am I right? Hello? Am I talking alone? Guys?
Oh, yeah. No, sir, we are still here.
Okay. So now, So now with this or not here, so now we know that technically this is the structure of your HTML website. This is the structure of your HTML website there. So this is where we start when it comes to HTML. So now, moving on from there, okay, let me do this now, so that you guys can have sort of an idea of what we're talking about here when we write some of this stuff there. So now, what this means, let me come here. Let me do this. I'm going to highlight here, and then we're going to add like a comment. Let us add. Let me see, I'm adding the comment in the wrong place. Okay, so now I'm going to comment on that now. What does this mean? This part here, meta charset UTF-8. This simply means that it tells the browser the type of encoding that it needs to do. You see, so in this case here, it simply tells the machine to translate whatever has been written into human readable text. Simple like that. This is what it simply means, this part here. Simple tells the computer, okay, whatever that has been done, translate. You use the UTF character encoding to translate. So now, when it comes to character encoding here, this is basically your computer simple working here to like, okay, your computer translates everything. Remember that computers are computing devices, and they do not understand English the way that, even though we write in English, it doesn't mean that the computer understands this. So whatever that we write is basically taken by the computer or the IDE that whoever we're using, and then it is converted into machine language. Then the computer translates that machine language and then works with that information that you have, and then sends that information back to where it's supposed to go. And then from there, and then your computer sends back the information that it receives after translating, that sends back the information that it received. And then, but before it sends it back to you, it has to convert that into a language that you understand, which is basically English or French, or whatever that language that the system is actually set on. So that is what happens there. See, so now and then the character code that we use right now is UTF-8. UTF-8 is one of the encodings that you actually use. UTF-8. So there are many other encoding. There are many other encoding items, like other encoding. Okay, the other coding languages that you actually use. Like I don't know how to put it in terms of if I can call it encoding languages or whatever, but it's not encoding languages. It's just code that the computer makes use for it to actually translate that. So now the most common one is what you call, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this, ASCII, ASCII, which is American Standard for what American Standard for computing, American Standard code for information interchange. Yes, that is ASCII. That is one of the widely commonly used encoding standard. Even though now with this one there, the ASCII only consists of 128 character codes. So basically your computer, whatever language or whatever structure that you write, your computer basically understands 128 of those characters. And then what is the UTF encoding has got what you call characters that are in the sequence of 8-bit. Is it 8-bit bytes? Something like that. So, which means, like with this one here, the UTF-8 has got actually more in terms, it can contain more in terms of the code structures. But this is something that you guys should just go and do a little bit more research on in terms of, so that you can understand more. So since you guys will do Python, this is something that we are going to also visit sometime, because we have to visit what UTF-8 means, what ASCII, the ASCII codes and stuff like that. We need to see all that. The Unicode, you also need to look at all that stuff. Also the Unicode there. We also need to look at all these things. So now, but the only thing that you need to know in HTML is that this part here, meta charset UTF-8, simple means exactly that thing that we just said. It tells the browser to use a UTF character code encoding to translate machine code into human readable text. That's what it simple means there. And then what is when you're talking about the text, the title here, the title simple means the title. This thing that you see on the tab here on the browsers there, that is what you find here under the title there. The titles, whatever them. So right now, if I write here, for instance, maybe my company, which means on the tab in the website, when I'm running my website, it's going to write my company there. And then all of these two, they are in the header. As we said before, I said that whenever a website is being, whenever information is being requested from a web browser, the first thing that the web browser does is it does these two. It first deals with a charset there, and then also it deals with the title. And then now, then I say that this is one of the first things that your computer is simply going to do, because it's going to ask for that conversion before you can load the content of the website. It needs to do that conversion first, and then afterwards, and then it will start doing all the stuff that it needs to do there. Like you start declaring, displaying the title, and then you display the contents of that particular page. So now, moving on, HTML5 new elements. So now the element, there are certain elements that have been added in terms of HTML5. So now, since that's the Canva that is used to, okay, let me do this. So now there are a lot of elements that have been added to HTML5. So I don't know if I should go through these elements first or do this first. Deal with the HTML part. So let me deal with the HTML part as a whole before I can come back to HTML5. Then what exactly do you deal with when you're dealing with HTML? Then now, what is HTML? And Matome is asking me what UTF means. Okay, wants to answer what UTF means. Hello, who knows what UTF means? Want to try? Guys? Want to try? Nomfundo, where are you?
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, what does UTF mean, Nomfundo?
You said it tells the browser.
The browser. No, I'm asking you what UTF means, the word UTF.
So I don't know what it means, sir.
Is
you
it?
just told us now what it does. So I think I know what it does, but I don't know what it means.
Oh, okay. All right. Matome, what UTF simple means? It means Unicode transformation format. That's what it simple means. Unicode transformation format. So remember, it basically translates. That is what it is. So this is basically a standard of Unicode. It's basically a standard of Unicode. Okay, so now, as we were saying, that there are so many things that we do especially when you're dealing with HTML. So now, before we learn HTML5, we need to understand the standard HTML. Then we can go to HTML5 there. So now let's look at the let's look at the syntax. We start there with syntax first. And then now I'm just trying to pull out a slide. I'm opening a slide, so give me a second. Okay, here we go. So now this is what HTML means. This is, I mean, the structure for HTML. So now these are some of the important text for HTML, the basis part. As I said, before we go to HTML5, we need to understand HTML first. So now HTML, this is where it starts. I said that, remember, after having that thing that we're looking at there, after doc type, the next thing that you have is HTML. HTML, this is what it simple means. HTML there defines an HTML document. We know that. Because now, once you open an HTML, you have to, everything in your web page has to be enclosed between those two HTML statements. You've got the opening part and you've got the closing part. The closing part always comes out with that particular slash there. And then that defines an HTML document. And then the second part, we've got the body, and then we spoke about the header already. Remember, we said that the header is this one here, where we've got the head. See, this is the head there. It's not like the header, but it is the head of the HTML document. And then the next part here is the body. The body defines the body of the document. The body is this one here. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the body there. So this is the body of the document. This is where you literally put everything that is shown on a website. Everything that you see on a website is basically based on that. Is basically based on this. So, and then next up there is the what you call. Next up there are the what you call the headings. No, this is not the header, but it's a headings. And then the headings there, they've got different HTML tagging there. You've got H1 all the way up to H6. So remember, what you open, if it's H1, and then which means you have to close your H1. You do not close with an H6. So H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, depending with which one is the biggest. H1 is the biggest heading that you have. Like for instance, something like this here is something similar to H1. And then something this small here, probably similar maybe to H3 or H4. You see, so the headings also are different there. So here you do not say size 20 and things like that. No, like you deal with them in terms of the headings there. And then you've got the paragraph formatting. So any paragraph that you write in HTML, it has to be within the paragraph text. That is open tag, P tag. It has to be between these P tags there. And then center, notice here, this centers the text. And then you've got this here, B, it means bold. And then this I means italic. And then the U, it means underline the text that you're working with. And then HR means draw a horizontal line. And then BR means break the line or create an empty line between the two. So you don't need a closing tag for this one. And then hash exclamation dash dash means that whatever that comes after these two dashes, it has to be a comment. So these are some of the important tags there. Moving down, you see that the text formatting there, this basically is the same thing that I was simply talking about, the B there, and then big text, emphasized text, I, italic, small, strong, subscripted text, superscripted. Like for instance, if I want to write squared, then which is subscript and superscript, yeah. So the squared or the base there, and then you can insert, you can delete text, but yeah. So those are some of the items there. Notice here, an HTML element is everything from the start of the tag to the end of the tag. So for instance, now, if here the start tag, notice, and then end tag. So how do you start a tag? For instance, if I open a dash P, I mean a P tag, which means I have to close it. This is what I was talking about. That any HTML element that you open, it has to be closed. If you leave it open, it tends to affect everything that you have. And then second aspect, you've got your A tag, href, and then from there, this one we know that it is a link. Because you opened it as an A, it has to be closed. But now the ones like PR and HR, you do not need to close this. PR and HR, the line break and the horizontal line, those ones you don't need to close. But everything else, once you open, it has to be closed. See that the start of a tag is known as the opening, the end is known as the closing tag. Each and every tag that is opened has to be closed, except for two tags, the PR and the HR. As I say, that this one and this one, you don't need to close these two. But all other tags, even the comments one also, you don't need to close it. But all the other tags here, they need to be closed. Once you open them, you have to close them. Do you have any questions so far? Hello, any questions so far? Are we good?
No questions, sir. It's just that can you please have this document?
Yes. I promised you, I said maybe by tomorrow, you will have most of the documents that I promised that I'll send you. Okay, so now moving on to the next one. Don't forget the end tag and use lowercase text. We do not have capital text, guys. We do not do capital. And I see Michelle, I see when you love using capital letters a lot. In HTML, you don't use capital letters. You'll be having errors left and right if you do that. So avoid capital letters, ne? Because I see that you love capital letters.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So so
No,
now,
sir, like
guys,
sir, like a name, like shouldn't I use like maybe D as a capital letter to write my name?
no, like to write the text, it's fine. I'm talking about the tags. Tags are small caps. They're never capped. Because you think all these languages that we do, whether Python or JavaScript and stuff, they are very case sensitive. So writing in the wrong case will give you a problem. So make sure that the case that you used is the acceptable case. And HTML is small case through and through. But the text that you write inside, as I said, it's fine. There's no problem with the text that you write. And also now they're saying that BR here is an empty element without a closing tag. We know that, we spoke about this, that this one you don't need to close it. And then use HTML heading, use HTML headings for headings only. Like remember guys, those HTML headings that I was talking about, the H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, use those for headings only. Don't use headings to make text big or bold. Do not use headings. If you need to make text bold, there is a tag for that, which is called B. If you want to make something text big, there's a tag for that. There's big. You can use that. But never use HTML headings to change text. If they say maybe increase the size of the font and things like that, you can't use HTML headings for that. And remember that this here represents a comment. All right. And notice here. And then so now this is a basic structure of a website. Notice HTML, body, hello world. This is my first website. So, okay, let me do this. Let us write our very, very first website. So I'm going to copy this code here like this. I'm simply going to copy the way it is. Now I'm going to open, let me do this. Let me run my entire, let me share with you my entire screen. So that I can just give you like, share my entire screen. So now I'm going to open something called Notepad++. Now that's just going to be something very simple that I'm going to use. That's my editor of choice for today for making a website. Okay, my
Did we
computer is-
download Notepad++?
No, don't worry. I'm just using this for demonstration purpose. And then if you want to practice using Notepad++, yes, feel free to practice using Notepad++ for now. But it is not, I wouldn't recommend for you guys to do that. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, so I'm going to paste this code that I copied. Notice here, doc type, I've got that, and then I've got my HTML tag there, and then I'm going to separate this so that it can be very, very visible. I'm going to tab these things out, and then this one is fine. Then I'm going to tab that title, and then excuse me, and then the body. I'm going to also tab it in. So basically, I've an idea of a website. Notice here, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that, I've like almost everything that I need. So the title of my website, I'll call it my first web. I hope my computer is keeping up with me. Notice here, this is what I have so far. So now, if when I'm doing this now, so I'm going to do this. I can't do, there is nothing that I've done here, literally, like according to HTML, it doesn't know what exactly I am doing. That's why even if you see my text here is basic text. So now this is what I'm gonna do. So for me to make this text a little bit nicer, I'm going to do this. File, and then save as. Notice it will ask me on how exactly I want to save this document. So I'm going to save it under my, let me do this. Let me open a new folder, and then, yeah. So I'm just going to throw it here. Then I'm going to call it my first web page, like that. Or let me call it index. Nice ring to it. And then I'll come here and then save as. Notice here, save type as. Then I'll scroll down. Okay, my computer is acting up now. Well, save as, notice here, save as hypertext markup language file, which is HTML. That's what it is. So I'm going to do that. And then when I do that, notice what's going to happen. Look at the text, it changes color. You see that? So now my computer has now understood that, oh, okay, I'm working with an HTML website. Simple like that. So now, since I've done that, if I go to documents, documents there, and then I've got a file, a folder here called new folder. Was it new folder 2 or 1? I think forgot the folder. Okay, it's 1. It's this one here. Notice here, I've got that thing called index here. So if I double click on this, it opens a web page and it shows me the stuff that I have. Notice here, the very first part there, let me close this here. The very first part there at the top, notice here, my first web page. You notice that? This is my, that thing that I wrote. If you check here, my first web page. If I decide to change this here, and I call it first web page, like that. If I call it first web page like that, and then I save it, and then I open my website again, and then I refresh, notice there it changes first web page. Can you see that? Are we together, guys?
Yes, sir, we are following.
Okay. So now you notice this is how basically you start when it comes to creating website. And here I'm just using a simple word editor. I'm using a simple editor here. I haven't even started using your Visual Plus or I mean your Visual Studio and the Visual Studio Code and things like that. I'm simply using a simple what you call editor. And this is how usually most of these websites are actually done. They're created using these editors there. So now let me add some more stuff. Let's say now I want to add an H1 tag, for instance, H1, and then I want to put a heading. Let's say contents. This is the heading that we have, and you say to open, whatever that we open, we're going to close it. We've opened and we've closed, and then now this becomes a paragraph. I want to make it a paragraph P, and then like that, and then slash P, like that. And then next up, let's say I want to tell my website that, oh, this is, I want to write a comment. Let's say the comment that I want to write here, I do not want it to be shown there at the very top part. So I do not want it to be shown, dash dash. These are the contents of my web page, like that, and dash dash and close. Oh, did I? Okay. Let's say, okay, let's do this. Let's say we forgot to close our web page, our comments there. What's going to happen? Let's save that and go back to our website here, and then we run this. Notice our web page is now empty because we've commented everything out, but we do not want to close to comment everything out. We do not want to close anything out, right? So now, if that's the case, then which means we have to close that dash dash, and then it's supposed to close. Notice that now what I've done is I've closed that comment part out, and then but I left the contents of the page to show. Save that, go back here, and then I say refresh. Notice now contents. That contents has been written in H1 and then contents of the document there. Say I want to draw a line underneath the contents here. Let's say I want to draw a line. For me to draw a line, we know that to draw a line is simple to use something called HR, isn't it? So I'll just come, oh no, not there. The line I want you to draw under the contents here. So I'll do this, tag HR slash, and that is my line. I've drawn a line there. So save that, and then go back and run my site again. Notice it has drawn an entire line across my page there. You can even edit how much you want your line to be. For instance, if let's say you want is it the length or the width or the size of the line to be a certain, so for a certain format, you can do that. If you want the color of the line to change, you can do that. It is up to you. But anyway, this is how I just wanted to show you guys how to basically design a simple website. This is where you start. And then later, and then you can add more content, you can do whatever that you want. But it's always good to know where to start, because most of you, I'm pretty sure last time, Mesha, is it Mesha and okay, I think it's better. Can you guys see that now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So see, this is the basic structure of my website. You can add more content as you go. You can add pictures, you can add links to a document. For instance, let's say on this page where I'm saving my document, I've got this thing here. This. Let's say I want to add this element there. Let's check. Do we have a tag for that? If you come here. Okay. We've looked at all this stuff there, horizontal line. Okay, these are fonts. Okay, I will do that. Okay, guys, can you just excuse me for a second? Okay, so do you guys see that? Can you guys see that? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I can't see your screen. Or maybe it's coming, I don't know.
This screen.
No, I can see it now.
Yeah, I removed it. So now, if you get the concept is here, that this is where we start, and then from there we can just simply add on the content as much as you want. You can add in content as much as you want. So you can put anything that you want from here. You can build up, you can do anything that you want from here. This is where literally we start. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now going back, let me stop sharing this site and let me go back to the PDF. So now, as I said that, if you check here, this is the comment. So the comment does not get displayed, this comment thing that we spoke about. Excuse me, and then that's a paragraph there. And then when it comes to a line, we spoke about this, that a line is usually this tag there, HR and then slash. That draws a horizontal line. And then from there, and then we've got many other things that we that you actually put up there. We've got like okay, like we dealt with these paragraphs and the HRs and stuff. And then also now when it comes to fonts now, this is one of the most important aspects there. Notice HTML, and then you've got body color, and then we can change the background color of your page there. Like for instance, say body BG is equals to yellow. Let me do that. Let me just copy this part, and then we change the color of the font there. So let me do this. Where it says body, and then from there, and then okay, I'm going to share this shortly, and then I'm going to copy this entire thing there. Okay, so observe here. Check this out. So notice here, something that I did. I changed the background color. Yellow is a little bit too much. Let me use blue. It works better. And then from there, and then the font. Notice here, I did something. I added a certain paragraph. Let me do this. I need to add that paragraph there. P, and then I need to close that paragraph there. P. Notice here, inside the paragraph tag, this paragraph tag that we have here, that opens here and closes there, I added a font tag here, and then that font here, I said the size of the font is size 5. And then the face is called Arial, which is the name of the font. And then the color of that particular font is going to be red. You see that? And then from there, and then I close that font tag there. So which means this particular font only applies to this particular paragraph, but that one here is going to remain exactly the same way. So if I save this and I run it here, notice the color of the page has changed to blue, and then the content and contents are still the same, but notice here this paragraph is in Arial size 5 and the text color is red. Oh, okay, I'm not sharing that part here. I need to share this part of the web page after it has changed. Okay, notice here. Can you see my web page now? See, the content is still the same. The content of the page is still the same, but this particular paragraph has changed, and the background color of my website changed. So if I decide to change the background color, maybe to let's say the background color, like what color is nice? Maybe let's use sky blue. Let's hope sky blue is gonna work. But let's see. I'm trying to see if the sky blue is gonna work. Oh, yes, it did. Notice here, I just changed the color, just wrote sky blue. Sky blue now, notice here, the background color is changed, and then the font size is still the same. So if I decide to reduce the font size here to maybe, let's say 2, like that, and then save on my site there. And then if I come and I run this again, notice the size of the font is also decreased. On the other hand here, I'm pretty sure it's too small for you guys to be able to see that. Let me try to do this. Yes.
So as you make changes, can we see on the code, so that
okay,
when the code transforms to that, we know how you did that?
Okay. So now this here was what Asimbo did. So what Asimbo did here was the code here. I just changed a few aspects there of the code. I just changed the size of that code there to size 2. Notice here, and I changed the what you call this, the color here to sky blue, because it was blue before. I changed it to sky blue. So I just did that. So for instance, if let's say we change this to size 3, like that, and then if I change that to size 3 and I save here, and then I open back my browser here, and then I write this, you notice the size just increases just a little bit there. So there's a lot that you can actually do in terms of your HTML. Your HTML can do a lot of things, like you can just play around with different elements of the contents that you write here. So there can be a lot of things. You can even just go on an internet website or on a PDF document or whatever, and then you can simply just copy text. For instance, let me do this. Let me just say Wikipedia. And then I'm just going to copy this part here. Copy that and and then I paste it here. And then let's say I want to add a heading, H2, and then I call it Wikipedia. H2, like that. And I put in a paragraph. That was the text that I copied. So even if I do this to the text, I just want to show you something here. Even if I do this to a text and I just come /p like that and I close, notice that the text, it appears as if I put an enter here. If I put an enter here, but if I run this under my code is going to run this in a straight line, in a simple straight line there, because it doesn't really matter on that. Notice here, you see, I put a break here and after end, but notice my thing is simple writes this thing as if it's normal. So if I reduce this size a little bit, it still fits in one particular line. It doesn't break it the way that I had broken it. So the only way for you to break any line here is to apply a tag BR, for instance, like that. So if I do this, then it's going to break the line after end here. If I save this, and then I come here and then I run, notice there, it has broken that particular line there. Notice there's a difference between breaking a line and creating a paragraph. Breaking a line, notice the space in between this line here and this line here. So if I decide to make this a paragraph, it's going to be totally different. For instance, if I do this, instead of saying that, and then I say P, I close that, and I create another paragraph here, because it's closed already there. You will notice here, there's a big difference between those two. If I come and then you just observe the space in between Wikipedia, that line there, this line here, and this line. Notice the space in between. Notice here now, there is a huge gap in between. So a line break simple means it breaks this, creates another line underneath, but it doesn't create a paragraph. But when I'm creating a paragraph, it will leave an entire paragraph spacing here. You notice there's a difference between a line break and a paragraph. Those are two very different things. Always, there was always that huge space that is left in between. So you need to be very careful, especially if you're working with that. So you need to be aware of what a line break is and a paragraph break is. I hope that makes sense there. So now, as I said,
yes, I was not aware that you can actually just write colors. Sorry, I raised my hand.
No,
when we did it last year, we were using codes. You see the background color, your background color is sky blue, right?
Yes.
Last year we'd use codes like, was it #00? You know, those kind of codes that set a color.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think with BG color, which means background color, it makes life easy for us. Because I think when it comes to CSS, when we have to change colors, it'll make our life easy. So I'm like, thank you, sir, for introducing that. Because yeah, it makes life easy for us that you can just say BG color and then say pink or red or yellow, instead of saying hashtag. I don't know if it's only for background. Maybe it's also for text that you use that code for color.
Yeah.
But I
So,
think for
so
me
for everything.
personally, okay, I think like personally for me, that one works. The one that you're using now, it makes my life easy.
Yeah, but remember, this one is limited. For instance, there are sometimes when you need to be very specific when it comes to color, then you have to use color codes.
I say, okay.
Yeah, because there are times when someone will tell you, like, this is the color that I want. Like, for instance, if you check here on my screen here, look at this part here at the top of Microsoft Teams. Excuse me, this kind of color here. Yeah, there is no name for this particular color. So which means this one works with a color coding scheme. So you need to know what color code it is, and then you need to copy that color code, because not
It's
every
not
time.
navy blue, say.
Sorry?
It's not navy blue, that color.
There are different shades of navy blue. That's the problem.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Now
So,
then.
so now you have to be aware of that, because now and then you need to work around with your color codes then.
Okay. But
Yeah.
at least you introduce something new that can actually work with us as beginners. So as
Yeah,
time goes on and we'll change, go and adapt.
exactly. That's the point. Okay, so as I said, guys, that for me, I think I'm not gonna go beyond, because otherwise our lesson is gonna be cancelled, and I do not have thingy organized for today. So, but I think for an introduction, I'm pretty sure we covered as much basics as we needed. Do you have any questions based on the introduction concepts and things like that? Do you have any questions regarding that? Or so far so good, and then tomorrow, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper into the concepts.
Also, my question is on the sequencing of the codes. Like, can you see like some are there at the corner, but when you write, like some are going to like to the middle. So I need to like understand on that, because like I'm lost on the sequencing.
Or you mean this part here?
Yeah. There, the
Or,
line. You see those lines, yes.
okay. The sequences of the code doesn't really matter, Dumisani. So what happens here is I do this because it makes my code kind of nice, and I know where what is where. If you feel what I'm trying to say. So now this is called tab. I'm just using tab, the tab button on your computer then, to move these different lines to different things. So for instance, I know that my head starts here, my head ends there. So it's easy for me to check if ever I missed any tag or not. See that? So because if I know that my head has to be like easy like that, then my title has to be somewhere there. So even if I had to work with a title, if I decided maybe to do something like this, when it comes to the title, I could have done that. So I know that my HTML, my head, see that the title is somewhere in between there, and then the body starts and the body ends there, and then the font is somewhere here. You see that the paragraphs there. So it actually makes it easy for my code to be structured. It's not like a sequencing, but it is the what we call good coding techniques. It's for helping my code to be in a certain manner that is so easy for me to be able to follow up, for someone who's going to be maintaining your code sometime later. It's easy for them to look at that code and be able to follow it easily, than if your code everything is in one line, and then it's so difficult for people to actually follow what exactly you're trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other question, guys? Okay, so if there's no any further questions, so which means tomorrow we're going to continue from there, dealing with different fonts, font colors, and then we're also dealing with inserting pictures and things like that. So now tomorrow we're dealing with those elements of adding pictures, styling a lot, especially when it comes to dealing with styling, pictures and things like that. So we're going to be adding styles and things like that. And then also we're going to be adding links into our websites and images and things like that. So those are some of the items that we'll be making it. And also we're going to be also dealing with the meta tag. See, now introducing, like as I said, the deeper concepts of HTML, because I do not want to rush into everything too quick. Then the gradual introduction as we go in, because by the end of by the end of this week, your HTML should be like fully fluent. But as I said, by Wednesday or so, I'm pretty sure we'll be done with most of the aspects for HTML, and then we can start introducing some elements of CSS by then, which means around Thursday there or so. We start introducing those elements of CSS. But at least tomorrow, and then we deal with styling concepts, and then after the styling, and then also addition of links and things like that. So links, anchors, and things like that. So that's what we'll be adding. And then later, and then we're going to introduce tables, buttons, and things like that, like ordering lists and stuff. So those are the basic elements of HTML before we move to the more advanced aspects. So now the best practice that you can do, Michelle, I will not give you homework and say, guys, go and do this homework. No. So now the best that you guys need to do is download that Notepad++, which is a very simple, it's like 1 megabyte, I think. And then you just install it. And then from there, start practicing your HTML. Simple like that. And then just create something basic, a skeleton, just work around with some of the elements that we just did. And then tomorrow, same thing. And then tomorrow, just get those advanced elements that you use them. Just play around with different items that you can, so that the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. You'll see. And then later you'll be linking 4 pages. Next thing, you've got 5 pages, 6 pages, all of them linked like that. And it becomes so easier and like simple things to work with. And then later, and then we can start introducing those IDEs that you guys are so used to. But for now, Notepad++ until you get the concepts, and then we can move to more advanced concepts of this. Okay, so if we do not have any further questions before load shedding does the job for us, thank you so much, guys, for